Let's talk about PCScript as it relates to the main element. The main graphic element is the canvas, and you may think about it as the container that holds all of the objects inside of an image template file. Well, on this main element, there are a few commands that you can issue to it using PCScript that give you some capabilities that you really can't get from the individual components such as graphs, text boxes, and shapes. And so we'll go through some of these quickly, and we're not going to show examples of everything, but we will show examples of some of them. So the first one we'll talk about is add ITXML. And really this allows you to add or replace some XML that was defined in the original file, the image template file, with some new XML, or to add some things in that weren't there originally. So in this case, we have a graph in our image template, and we would like to add a text box up at the top of this graph. And so you'll notice down at the bottom in our add ITXML, we're adding a text box with the name of text box. It is placed up at positioned with the top left and the width and height. And the text content says monthly revenue. And we also have that it is not showing a border, there's no fill, and specifies a font size. So this is all a very verbose XML definition of what this text box looks like if you were to design it in the builder. But issuing this PCScript command dynamically when this image is rendered places that text box with monthly revenue up in the top of the image, up above the graph as you would expect. And so that's the main reason you have add ITXML, is to add in or change things dynamically into an image template. The next command that we'll talk about is message. This isn't used often, but can be useful on certain occasions. And in essence, what it allows you to do is to replace whatever's in the image template with a simple message. You may want to do this in the case of an error condition where you don't want to show a graph with no data or something like that. You can just put in a message and have it replace the contents of the image template. So in this case, we're going to say main message. This message replaces all contents of the image template, and when that is issued dynamically, then the image generated will just have that message inside of it. The next two things we'll talk about are item delimiters and param delimiters. And by default, the item delimiter is a comma and the param delimiter is a semicolon. There are occasions when your data is using one or both of these characters and you would like to change these delimiters, one or both of them, so that it won't conflict with the text that you have in your data. So what we're doing in this example is we're changing the main param delimiter from a semicolon to a little hat, the caret, and we're changing the item delimiter from a comma to a pipe, vertical bar. And you'll notice that in our text that we're sending, we're setting some category names, and they have semicolons and commas in them. And so when that comes through, you'll see that we actually can specify category names with semicolons and commas in them because we changed the param delimiter so that internally we wouldn't look for the comma and the semicolon and treat them the same way we now look for the caret symbol and the vertical pipe. There are also cases when the param delimiter may not be sufficient, and so I'll talk about the escape character sequence for a moment. It's a two-character escape sequence. It's a backslash followed by a vertical pipe. And in this example, we've gotten rid of the main param delimiter and the item delimiter commands, and we're just using the comma and the semicolon as they were. But in the cases where either a comma or semicolon were used in the data, they have been escaped by this two-character sequence. So in this case, you would get the exact same result as by using the main item delimiter and param delimiter as we used previously. So this escape sequence characters is a good thing to know if you have data that may have things that you can't delimit in a unique way. The next three items we'll talk about all have to do with Section 508, which is equal access for those that are, what we do is handle access for those who are visually impaired or blind. And this is done by generating a text description of the images that are created. And the text description is based on a file, and we won't get into how that is all done in this section, but we wanted to talk about the PCScript as it relates to this text description. So first one is description, which will let you set the description for the chart or the incomplete image in the D-link. And the D-link is what we use to refer to the text description, the dynamic, or the link to get to the Section 508 descriptive text. Suppress auto description allows you to suppress the text description for the entire chart. And the title allows you to specify a title for the Corda image in the generated text description. So in this case, we are going to set the description for this image to be monthly revenue. And when that command is issued and you have D-link capability turned on inside of PopChart or CenterView or Optimap, then you will see down in the bottom right of the graph, you'll see a small D with an underline under it. That's the D-link, the descriptive link. If you click on that, you will get the text come up on the screen that is showing on the right side of this slide. And you'll notice that the title of that is monthly revenue, which is what we set in the previous command. So that is the description for this image. There are some additional commands that are useful for all objects. These are not just for the main or the base object or any specific object, but they can be used for any object. So whether it's a graph, a shape, a map, text box, a bitmap, whatever, these commands apply. The first one is add ITXML, which is very similar to main.add ITXML, but allows you to add ITXML specifically for this object or this element inside of the image template that you are working with. Set ITXML attributes allows you to just change some of the attributes for that particular object. So the example here is we're changing the top, the left, and the width for this element, but we are not changing the height. We're allowing the height to stay whatever it was defined in the builder. Hide allows you to have elements inside of your image template that you may or may not want to show in the final output, and so you can selectively hide them dynamically. And show is just the option. You can have things that are marked as not being visible, but you can force them to be shown in the final output.